You're now with me, Lorenzo Isaac, for TVS Nightline. Here are the headlines for tonight. Flood evacuation centers activated in Kuching and Bau. Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee now on flood watch. Sarawak Governor receives courtesy call from European Union delegation. Four temporary flood evacuation centers, PPS, have been opened in Kuching and Bau following continuous heavy rain since early this morning. Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) announced that the four PPS are currently housing over 352 victims. In Kuching, the flood evacuation center at Kampong Sinar Budi currently accommodates 54 flood victims, while the flood evacuation centers at Stapok and Taman Maleha provide shelters for over 280 displaced victims. Meanwhile, in Bau, 9 flood victims are currently placed at PPS in Kampong Segong. Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) is placed on high alert to monitor the rising water level following the continuous rain that inundated parts of Kuching on Friday. Its chairman, Dr. Amar Douglas Ukahambas, said the committee is also monitoring the water levels in Sungai Sarawak to mitigate floods in several affected areas.
Matlamat baras itu adalah untuk mengawal kemasukan dan keluaran air. Kerana kalau selalunya banjir berlaku, banjir kilat, apabila pasang tinggi bertembung dengan air hujan yang lebat. Jadi sebab itu mungkin jadi banjir kilat. Jadi, tujuan baras adalah kalau pasang tinggi, they stop so that they control the water doesn't come in.
He was met by reporters after visiting the temporary flood evacuation center at Kampong Sinabudi on Friday. Uga, who is also the Deputy Premier of Sarawak, assured that the state government will swiftly provide welfare to those affected by flood.
Jadi saya berpuas hati juga dengan peranan yang dimain Kepulauan Jabatan Kebijakan Negeri Sarawak, APM, Bomba, dari Unit Keselamatan Negeri Sarawak, dan semua agensi-agensi yang telah membantu. Tujuan utama kita adalah menyelamatkan nyawa. Maka mereka perlu pindah. Dan saya senang hati kerana mereka bersedia berpindah walaupun mengorbankan meninggalkan rumah. We are trying our very best to ensure the mangsa of banjir to be managed supaya mereka juga dapat mengelakkan apa-apa kejadian yang tidak diingini. Dan di sini juga kita berharap mereka tidak cukup makan. Now they buy some mattress for them to cukup. And then after that we see, and then the medical doktor ada cleaning ada. Ada. Tolong cek COVID jangan lupa. That one is number one.
Head of State Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuan Jafar today received a courtesy visit from the European Union EU delegations at Astana. The delegation was led by EU Ambassador to Malaysia, Michaelis Rukas, accompanied by 15 others in a meeting that lasted for about an hour. The visit was part of the delegation's itinerary to Sarawak as part of their 5-day official working visit to the state. On Wednesday, over 100 delegates from EU member states and representatives of EU companies attended the EU-Malaysia Business Day 2024 forum at the Borneo Cultural Museum Auditorium. Rukas said that the event was aimed at seeking greater collaboration opportunities in areas of sustainability. Green energy and digitalization are among the potential areas for collaboration between the European Union, EU and Sarawak. The matter was highlighted by EU Ambassador to Malaysia, Michaelis Rokas, after a courtesy call of the EU delegation to the Premier Sarawak, Dato' Padinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, on Friday. Rokas, who also led the delegation, added that the Premier is also interested in collaborating with the EU in areas of technology transfer, education, as well as sustainable green energy.
But also the new types of energy, like the sustainable aviation fuels, and connectivity and digitalization that are very important to the state of Sarawak are our priorities. So we discussed ways, we had excellent discussion, excellent exchanges. This is definitely not a one-off. This is something that we are going to follow up very energetically with the ministries in Sarawak and the various agencies. And we have a concrete plan in these 3-4 areas that I just mentioned to move ahead.
Rokas also emphasized EU's commitment to forging strong partnerships in the green transition areas, underscoring EU's abundant technology resources in the field, along with efforts to diversify global partnerships.
The Gabungan Party Sarawak GPS coalition has proposed a candidate for the top post of Dewan Negara President. According to its Deputy President, Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Ali Ahsan, all parties are advised to wait for the decision by His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim Iskandar, King of Malaysia, regarding the appointment. However, he kept mum of the name of the candidate.
Yalah, kita tunggulah apa ni acara angkat sumpah nanti. Yalah, kita tunggulah. Kita dah submit. Jadi kita tunggulah. Tak lama lagi. Kita submit satu saja. Itu je. So kita tunggulah.
Sarawak must protect the quality and image of its pepper products to retain its reputation as a premium export commodity. Deputy Premier Sarawak, Dato' Amar Douglas Ugahambas, noted that some unscrupulous traders jeopardize the quality of the product by mixing it with peppers from other producing countries in an attempt to increase their export volume.
Uga said the adulteration can have adverse effects on Sarawak pepper's reputation and overseas demands. He added proper enforcement is very crucial, as Sarawak has many private wharves where pepper from outside of the region could be easily brought in. Uga warned that another issue which could arise if Sarawak's current export record did not match its current harvest production is that the more discerning importing European countries would question Sarawak on the situation. Thus, he urged producers to ensure only genuine Sarawak pepper is used for export, which is often better and of higher quality than the rest. Earlier, Uga welcomed the visit from the Malaysia Paper Board and Syarikat Saraspice Sendirian Berhad at his office on Friday.
Meanwhile, University Malaysia Sarawak Unimas plans to offer a Bachelor of Education in Iban Language program to address the shortage of Iban language teachers in the region. Its Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Ahmad Hatta Rashid, said that the program is slated to commence in the first semester of 2025/2026 academic session.
According to Ahmad Hatta, the program will be offered by its Education, Language and Communication faculty. In addition, the faculty also plans to set up the Borneo Languages Department, which will include the Iban, Bidayo, Melanau and Sarawak Malay dialect. Moreover, an Iban language for communication profession will also be offered as an elective course. Earlier, Ahmad Hatta led the Unimas delegation to pay a courtesy visit to the Deputy Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Amar Douglas Ugahambas, on Friday. Previously, Uga, who is also the Unimas Pro-Chancellor, has suggested that Unimas come up with an Iban language program to address the shortage of teachers in the native language.
The Early Intervention Centre, or ZAIC, in Miri is set to commence operations in October this year after an allocation of 2.028 million ringgit was approved to establish the facility in Miri. Minister of Women, Childhood and Community Wellbeing Development, Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah, said that the renovation works for the ZAIC Miri building are currently underway, including training for the teaching staff.
Ini yang telah kita putuskan khususnya untuk tahun ini ialah untuk kita membuka perkhidmatan OSIC di Miri, dan kita berterima kasih kepada kerajaan negeri kerana telah meluluskan peruntukan 2 juta lebih, 2,028,000 to enable us to establish OSIC Miri, dan insyaAllah ianya akan mula beroperasi pada bulan Oktober tahun ini. Ini untuk OSIC Miri. Kerja-kerja mengubah suai bangunan setelah pihak kerajaan negeri bersetuju lokasinya. Jadi kerja mengubah suai tempat, dan pada masa yang sama latihan untuk kaki tangan, dan insyaAllah pada bulan 10 kita dah boleh beroperasi.
She said this in her speech at the graduation ceremony of the Sarawak Early Intervention Centre, OSEIC, in Kuching earlier today. Meanwhile, Fatimah added that OSEIC Miri will become the first comprehensive facility in the area, despite Miri having the second highest registration for special needs children education, with a total of 176 students in 2023.
Disabled individuals without next of kin can be placed in the Sarawak Special Needs Community Centres (SNCC) once the project is completed. State Minister of Women, Childhood and Community Wellbeing Development, Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah, said that the centre will be the first of its kind in Borneo to provide such services. Fatimah also disclosed that disabled children without next of kin can be placed in the centre to ensure their well-being if they are no longer with relatives with them.
Sekarang ini bagi disabled individuals yang yang tidak ada waris, ibu bapa sudah meninggal, kita tidak ada tempat untuk menempatkan mereka. Now kalau diperlukan, they are in fact sent to Semenanjung. Di Semenanjung ada satu, Sabah Sarawak tak ada. So what we are going to do di bawah SNCC ini nanti, so we have that hostel, macam hostel, where nanti banyak individu yang they are not independent, very dependent. Some are, kalau in terms of disability, some are still very dependent on orang lain. So kalau misalnya tak ada waris, so mereka akan ditempatkan di situ. It's just like our rumah warga emas Sri Kenangan. If they don't have anak, tak ada waris, kemana mereka pergi? So we put them in rumah Sri Kenangan. Here for OKU, kalau misalnya ibu bapa sudah meninggal dunia, adik-beradik tak dapat jaga atau tak ada adik-beradik, and they need someone because in terms of their disability, it's quite severe. So there is a place where they can actually be placed in.
SNCC provides diagnostic, therapeutic, educational, vocational training, workshop programs, and comprehensive facilities for the special needs community in Sarawak. The centre will be located at the Samarahan Rehabilitation Centre and is expected to be completed by 2026.
Coming up right after the break, Mandarani government confident in 4 to 5% GDP growth for 2024, and Singapore tables 2024 budget with small surplus. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned. Welcome back. The Madani government is confident of achieving stronger gross domestic product GDP growth of between 4 and 5% in 2024 on the back of strong fundamentals and reforms mapped out in the Madani Economy and Budget 2024. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, in a statement issued by the Ministry of Finance earlier today, said after mapping out of the strategy for Malaysia's new economic growth through the Madani Economy Framework, the government will accelerate its implementation this year to ignite new economic growth and deliver social reform and justice.
Commenting on the 2023 GDP announced today, the ministry said the Malaysian economic growth normalized to 3.7% in 2023, following a strong growth registered in 2022 with 8.7%, and was slightly lower than the budget 2024 forecast of about 4%. Despite a challenging external environment, the ministry said Malaysia's economy grew by 3% in the fourth quarter of 2023, supported by resilient domestic demand that rose by 5.2% in the quarter. The statement added that this helped cushion the 3.2% decline in Malaysia's trade as exports softened on the back of cooling global demand. The Ministry of Finance said the growth in Q4 2023 was supported by improving economic fundamentals, among others, the labor market, which registered positive growth momentum in Q4 2023, with the unemployment rate in Q4 2023 decreasing to pre-pandemic levels of 3.3%. It also noted that net foreign direct investment amounted to 17.1 billion ringgit in Q4 2023. Anwar said the continued growth in domestic demand signifies that the Madani government's reform agenda is starting to yield positive results.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim urges the Zakat or TEED institutions to solve fundamental problems related to hardcore poverty in the country. He said that such an institution should not be seen as a mere institution or a revenue generator for the country, but as an important institution linked to poverty.
Negara kaya sebagaimanapun, kutipan zakat puluhan bilion ringgit sekalipun tidak mungkin berhasil menyelenggara dan menyelesaikan sebagian besar masalah kalau tidak diurus dengan baik. Pengurusan baik itu disebut tata kelola yang baik. Sebab itu ada kaitannya. Institusi zakat itu harus diurus dengan baik. Maknanya prinsip tata kelola. Setiap sen yang digunakan, wang yang dikutip atas nama zakat, itu mesti dipertanggungjawabkan.
Anwar added that efforts to eradicate hardcore poverty in Kuala Lumpur, Malacca, Negeri Sembilan, and Selangor have achieved a 100% success rate so far. He said this at the Penang International Zakat Conference 2024 at University Science Malaysia earlier today. Also present were Higher Education Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, Penang Deputy Chief Minister Datuk Dr. Muhammad Abdul Hamid, and Mufti of Penang Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Salim Wan Muhammad Noor.
The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) plans to pursue investigations into high-profile individuals as long as reports are filed, even those concerning past incidents. Tan Sri Azam Baki, the Chief Commissioner of MACC, said that the Commission will take action based on the reported details.
Kami tak ada akses kadang-kadang information tu. Benda dah berlaku lama. Kita generasi baru ni tak tahu.
Betul.
Saya tak ada, saya hidup zaman tu tapi saya tak terlibat dalam sistem tu.
Betul. Tapi tindakan memang kena diambil lah atas saya.
Tetap diambil. Itu tanggungjawab saya.
At the same time, Azam revealed that greed and the lack of integrity are the most common causes of corruption in Malaysia. He said that MACC is vigorously eliminating and restructuring laws and procedures to empower its personnel to carry out their due diligence regardless of the individual's prominence.
Even prevention sekarang ni, SPRM, kita ditanggungjawabkan dari segi melihat pada isu governance, isu tata kelola, isu integriti pegawai-pegawai awam, termasuk juga ahli-ahli pentadbiran awam untuk diperbetulkan. Dari segi visionnya, dari segi drive-nya datang pada seorang pemerintah, iaitu Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri.
Azam also said that Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim anticipates a high level of commitment to interrogate and investigate anyone involved in corruption.
Ini yang berlaku sekarang pada saya, kepimpinan yang amat berhormat Perdana Menteri, dia kata go ahead to who involved, even this is my friend, my cabinet members, you go ahead. That is the political will that every country needs.
Azam further revealed that many of the cases that are being revisited come from the 80s until 2008. He believes that many of these unsolved cases stemmed from negligence and ineffective enforcement, consequently leading to the proliferation of corrupt practices.
An attempt to smuggle out a total of 170,000 ringgit in cash by a Chinese national passenger was successfully intercepted by the Royal Malaysian Customs Department at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA Terminal 1. According to the Enforcement Operations Director of the Central Zone Customs Department, Wong Poon Sian, they found 1,700 pieces of 100 ringgit notes in the backpack of the passenger.
In a statement earlier today, Wong said the cash was discovered during a scan of the passenger's backpack, who was about to depart for Suvarnabhumi International Airport in Bangkok, Thailand. The passenger failed to declare the cash in the customs form number 7 and also failed to submit a Bank Negara Malaysia permit. The individual, whose identity was not disclosed, was detained to assist the investigation under Section 135(1)(a) of the Customs Act 1967 and Section 28B of the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001. If found guilty, the said person is punishable with a fine of up to 3 million ringgit or imprisonment of up to 5 years or both upon conviction. Wong also stated that this is the first money smuggling case involving the Ringgit Malaysia in 2024 by an international passenger at the KLIA Terminal 1 departure hall.
256 eateries were instructed to temporarily cease their operations by the Ministry of Health, MOH, under Section 11 of the Food Act 1983 due to hygienic reasons. According to Health Director General Dato Dr. Muhammad Radzi Abu Hassan, the number is equivalent to 3.3% of the total of 7,677 inspected eateries nationwide enforced under the same law.
On top of that, a total of 2,917 compounds worth 1.45 million ringgit had been issued through the enforcement of the Destruction of Disease-Bearing Insects Act 1975 for the prevention and control of dengue fever. Each compound averages at about 500 ringgit. Moreover, a total of 431 cases are awaiting court decision, while 75 cases have been charged and convicted in court with a total fine of 143,350 ringgit. At the same time, Radzi disclosed that a total of 13,526 offence notices were issued throughout January under the Control of Tobacco Products Regulations 2004. The Ministry of Health has inspected 25,257 premises and issued 5,059 compounds worth over 1.2 million ringgit. He clarified that enforcement is the final resort for the Ministry of Health. Therefore, everyone is encouraged to fulfill their duties and responsibilities to ensure the highest levels of health and hygiene.
And on to world news. Singapore is budgeting for a small surplus of 0.8 billion Singapore dollars for the financial year 2024, or 0.1% of the country's gross domestic product (GDP). Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Lawrence Wong described this as essentially a balanced fiscal position.
According to an annex released to the media, the operating revenue for 2024 is estimated at $108.64 billion. The estimated total expenditure is $111.76 billion, made up of operating expenditure of $88.43 billion and development expenditure of $23.33 billion. For the financial year 2023, Wong said the country's revenue collections were better than expected, mainly due to higher corporate income tax collections. According to him, Budget 2024 is about taking 5 concrete steps to build the shared future together. They are to tackle immediate challenges for households and businesses, pursue better growth and jobs, equip the workers for life, create more paths for equality and mobility.
Egypt is preparing an area at the Gaza border which could accommodate Palestinians in case an Israeli offensive into Rafah prompts an exodus across the frontier in what sources describe as a contingency move by Cairo. Egypt, which denied making any such preparations, has repeatedly raised the alarm over the possibility that Israel's devastating Gaza offensive could displace Palestinians into Egypt's Sinai desert, something Cairo says would be completely unacceptable.
3 security sources said Egypt had begun preparing a desert area with some basic facilities which could be used to shelter Palestinians, emphasizing this was a contingency step. One of the sources said Egypt was optimistic that talks to clinch a ceasefire can avoid the displacement of Palestinians out of Gaza, but is establishing the area at the border as a temporary and precautionary measure. The first source said construction of the camp began 3 or 4 days ago, and it would offer temporary shelter in any scenario of people crossing the frontier until a resolution is reached. The United States has repeatedly said it would oppose any displacement of Palestinians out of Gaza. Israel has said it will mount an offensive to take out Hamas's last bastion in Rafah, where well over 1 million Palestinians have sought sanctuary from its devastating Gaza offensive. Israel has said its army is drawing up a plan to evacuate civilians from Rafah to other parts of the Gaza Strip. But UNA Chief Martin Griffiths said on Thursday it was an illusion to think people in Gaza could evacuate to a safe place, and warned of the possibility of Palestinians spilling into Egypt if Israel launches a military operation in Rafah. He called this scenario a sort of Egyptian nightmare.
A Hezbollah commander, 2 other fighters and 7 civilians were killed in an Israeli strike in South Lebanon, raising the death toll on Wednesday. A security source said earlier today that the same Hezbollah commander had previously been targeted and wounded in an Israeli strike in the southern Lebanon town of Nabatiyeh a week earlier. The deaths due to the Israeli strikes brought the total civilian death toll to 10, the highest such toll since cross-border hostilities began in October. The strike raises fears of a broader conflict between Israel and Lebanon. The cross-border violence has killed at least 259 people on the Lebanese side, most of them Hezbollah fighters, but also including 40 civilians, while on the Israeli side, 10 soldiers and 6 civilians have been killed. See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates both locally and internationally. For more headlines anytime, anywhere, just head on to our official website at tvsarawak.my or follow us on our social media platforms at TV Sarawak. Those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Lorenzo Isaac. Thank you for watching and have a good night.